Last Thanksgiving, my daughter's husband stood in my kitchen, looked me in the eye, and called me a useless old man. He said I was a burden. He said I was holding my daughter back. He said the kindest thing I could do for everyone was to sign over the house and disappear into a retirement home where nobody had to pretend to care about me anymore. He said all of this while my daughter was in the next room, while my grandchildren were playing in the backyard, while the turkey was cooling on the counter. He said it with the confidence of a man who believed he was untouchable. What he didn't know was that my phone was in my shirt pocket, and it was recording every word. But here's the part that changes everything. I wasn't the only one recording that night. Someone else in that house had been watching him for much longer than I had, someone he trusted completely. And what they captured wasn't just an insult. It was evidence of something that would destroy his entire life. Before we go any further, thank you for being here. If this story has already caught your attention, take a second and tell me in the comments where you're watching from today. It means more than you know, and it truly helps this channel reach people who need these stories. And a gentle reminder, while this story carries real emotions and real lessons, some names, details, and events have been fictionalized for narrative and educational purposes. Any resemblance to real individuals is coincidental. The truth behind this message is what matters. Stay with me. My name is Arthur Brennan. I'm 64 years old. I live in a house on Birch Hill Drive in Marietta, Georgia. It's a 4-bedroom colonial that my wife, Donna, and I bought in 1994, 3 years after we got married. We paid $142,000 for it, which felt like a fortune at the time. Now, it's worth close to $480,000. 30 years of mortgage payments, repairs, renovations, and a neighborhood that grew up around us. Donna and I built that house into a home the way people used to. Slowly, carefully, with our own hands whenever we could. I retiled the bathroom, she painted the bedrooms. I built the deck in the backyard one summer, working weekends for 3 months straight. She planted hydrangeas along the front walkway because she said every house needed something beautiful to greet you when you came home. Donna was the most practical woman I've ever known. She was a registered nurse at Kennestone Hospital for 26 years. Night shifts, double shifts, holiday shifts. She worked them all without complaint. She used to say that nursing taught her 2 things: how to stay calm when everything's falling apart, and how to spot a liar from across the room. That second skill became the most important thing she ever passed on to me. Donna died on March 3rd, 2023. Ovarian cancer. Diagnosed in September 2022, gone in 6 months. The doctors said it was aggressive. That's the word they use when they mean fast and cruel. Aggressive. Like the cancer had a personality. Like it chose to be vicious. I held her hand at the end. She was in our bedroom, in our bed, in the house we'd built together. Hospice had set up equipment that beeped and hummed, and the room smelled like antiseptic and the lavender candles our daughter Natalie kept burning because Donna had always loved lavender. Donna's last coherent words to me were on March 1st, 2 days before she passed. She grabbed my wrist with a strength that surprised me. She'd been so weak, so diminished, and said, "Arthur, don't trust Mitchell. Watch him. And when you see who he really is, make sure you have proof." Mitchell is my daughter's husband, Mitchell Rhodes. I thought Donna was confused, delirious. The morphine had been making her say things that didn't connect. Conversations with her mother, who'd been dead for years. Instructions about the garden that didn't make sense. I assumed this was more of the same. I was wrong. Donna was more lucid in that moment than she'd been in weeks. She was giving me a warning. A warning I didn't understand until Thanksgiving night, 8 months later, when Mitchell stood in my kitchen and showed me exactly who he was. Let me tell you about my family, because this story doesn't work without understanding the people in it. Natalie is my only child, born in 1995, 4 years after Donna and I got married. She was the center of our universe, the child we'd tried for, prayed for, built our whole life around. Natalie inherited Donna's intelligence and my stubbornness, which made her formidable in the best possible way. She was a straight-A student, captain of the debate team, the kind of kid who could argue you into a corner and make you thank her for it. She went to the University of Georgia, graduated with honors, and got a job in marketing at a tech company in Atlanta. She was good at it. She rose fast. Coordinator, manager, director by 30. She was making $120,000 a year when she met Mitchell. Mitchell Rhodes came into Natalie's life in 2019. He was 34, she was 24. The age gap bothered me, though I didn't say it. He worked in commercial real estate, buying, leasing, managing properties. He wore nice suits, drove a Range Rover, and had the kind of charm that worked perfectly in a room full of people, but felt slippery in a room with just 2. I met Mitchell for the first time at a restaurant in Atlanta. Natalie had insisted on dinner, the 4 of us, me, Donna, Natalie, Mitchell. She was nervous in the way daughters are when they bring someone home for the first time, fidgeting with her napkin, watching my face for reactions. Mitchell was polished. Every question he asked was well-timed. Every compliment landed precisely. He asked about my work at the utility company. He asked about Donna's nursing career. He asked about the house on Birch Hill Drive. Beautiful neighborhood, he said. Must have seen incredible appreciation over the years. There it was. The first question about value. Not about the home, about the asset. I looked at Donna across the table. She was watching Mitchell with the expression she wore when she was assessing a patient. Clinical, attentive, reserving judgment. She caught my eye and held it for just a moment. That was enough. We'd been married long enough to communicate in glances. Her glance said, "I see it too." After dinner, in the car, Donna said, "He's performing." "What do you mean?" "I mean he's not being himself. He's being the version of himself he thinks we want to see. People who perform that well have had practice." "You think he's hiding something?" "I think he's hiding everything. But Natalie's happy, so we watch. We don't interfere. We just watch." That became our strategy. Watch. Don't interfere. And pay attention. Natalie and Mitchell got married in October 2020. Small ceremony because of COVID, just family, a few friends, an outdoor venue at a vineyard north of Atlanta. Mitchell's family was small, a mother who seemed uncomfortable the entire time, and a brother who didn't show up. No father. Mitchell said his father had left when he was young. He never elaborated, and something about his tone told me not to ask. Donna and I gave them $25,000 as a wedding gift. Donna insisted on writing the check to Natalie directly, not to both of them. "Why?" I asked. "Because I want the money in her account, not his. Call it a feeling." Donna's feelings were usually facts waiting to be proven, but I didn't argue. The first year of their marriage looked normal from the outside. They bought a townhouse in Decatur. Mitchell handled the purchase naturally. Natalie kept working. They seemed settled, but Donna noticed things I missed. She'd visit Natalie and come home with observations that she'd share with me in bed, her nurse's eye cataloging symptoms the way she'd done for 26 years. "Natalie's spending has changed. She used to buy herself books, clothes, little things. Now she asks Mitchell before she buys anything." She canceled her gym membership. Mitchell told her they needed to cut expenses, but he just bought a new watch. She didn't know the balance of their joint account. When I asked, she said Mitchell handles the finances. "Arthur, That girl managed a $2 million marketing budget at work. She doesn't know her own checking balance? Each observation was small. Each one was reasonable on its own. But Donna saw them as symptoms of something larger, and she started keeping notes. A yellow legal pad she kept in her nightstand drawer, filled with dates, observations, specific quotes. "I'm documenting," she told me when I asked about it. "In case we need it later." Need it for what? For when Natalie's ready to hear the truth. I didn't understand then. I thought Donna was being overprotective. I thought she was seeing shadows where there was just a new marriage finding its rhythm. Young couples adjust. Wives defer to husbands sometimes. It didn't have to be sinister. But Donna was a nurse. She'd spent her career watching people deteriorate. She knew that the earliest symptoms are always the easiest to dismiss. By early 2022, Donna's observations had filled 3 legal pads. 3 legal pads of dated entries documenting the slow erosion of our daughter's independence. Mitchell controlling the finances. Mitchell deciding where they ate, who they saw, how they spent their weekends. Mitchell making comments about Natalie's weight, her clothes, her friends. And then came the comments about me. Natalie mentioned them casually at first. "Mitchell thinks you're set in your ways, Dad." "Mitchell says you're too involved in our lives." "Mitchell thinks it's weird that you call me every day." Each comment was framed as Mitchell's opinion, delivered by Natalie with an apologetic smile. But the message was clear. Mitchell wanted distance between me and my daughter. He wanted to be the primary influence in her life, and I was in the way. Then Donna got sick, and everything accelerated. Donna's cancer diagnosis in September 2022 created a crisis that Mitchell saw as an opportunity. He was sympathetic on the surface, bringing flowers, offering to drive Donna to chemo, saying all the right things. But underneath the sympathy, I could feel him calculating. He started asking questions, not to me, to Natalie. About the house, about our savings, about Donna's life insurance, about what would happen after. Natalie mentioned these conversations to me once, early in Donna's treatment. "Mitchell thinks we should start planning for the future. In case, you know." "In case what?" "In case Mom doesn't make it. He says we need to be practical." "Your mother is still alive, Natalie. She's fighting. We're not planning for anything except her recovery." Natalie went quiet, and I saw something in her eyes that I recognized from Donna's legal pads. That look of a woman who's been told what to think and is starting to believe it. Donna noticed it too. Even through chemo, even through the exhaustion and the nausea and the slow erosion of her body, she noticed. One night, about a month before she died, Donna called me to her bedside. She was having a good evening, alert, focused, the kind of clarity that sometimes comes in waves near the end. "Arthur, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen carefully." "I'm listening." "Mitchell is not who Natalie thinks he is. I've been investigating him, not just watching, actually investigating." "What do you mean?" "I mean I hired someone. A woman named Gail Whitmore. She's a private investigator I used to work with when I was on the hospital's ethics board. I asked her to look into Mitchell's background and his finances." "Donna, when did you do this?" 6 months ago, before the diagnosis. I was already concerned. The diagnosis just made it urgent." "What did she find?" Donna reached into her nightstand drawer, the same drawer where she kept the legal pads, and pulled out a manila envelope. "Everything's in here. Gail's report, financial records, his history. Arthur, Mitchell has been married before. Twice. Both times the marriages ended with Mitchell in control of the woman's assets. His first wife lost her house. His second wife lost her savings. Both filed for divorce after discovering financial fraud." I stared at the envelope. He told Natalie he'd never been married. He lied. He lies about everything. His real estate business is failing. He's $200,000 in debt. He's been using Natalie's income to cover his losses. And he's been asking very specific questions about our estate, about the house, about my insurance. Why didn't you tell me? Because I needed proof first. And because I needed to set up protections before Mitchell figured out what I was doing. What protections? Donna smiled. It was the smile of a woman who'd spent 26 years outsmarting every crisis that walked through the emergency room doors. I've created a trust. The house, the savings, my life insurance. It all goes into the Donna Brennan Family Trust. You're the trustee. Natalie is the beneficiary, but only under conditions that require your consent. Mitchell can't touch any of it. When did you do all this? 4 months ago. Thomas Whitfield drew up the papers. It's all legal. It's all protected. Does Natalie know? No. And she can't know. Not yet. If she tells Mitchell, he'll find a way around it. He'll manipulate her into pressuring you to dissolve the trust. He'll convince her it's for their future. Donna, this is a mother protecting her daughter. The same way I've protected her since the day she was born. The only difference is that this time, I'm protecting her from someone she loves. Trust me, Arthur. You'll know. It came on Thanksgiving. The months between Donna's death and Thanksgiving were a slow deterioration. Not of me, of my relationship with Natalie. Mitchell accelerated his campaign after Donna died. Without her watchful presence, without her nurse's eye cataloging his behavior, he felt free to move openly. The visits decreased. Natalie called less frequently. When she did call, the conversations felt scripted, surface-level updates delivered in a voice that sounded rehearsed. Mitchell was always in the background. I could hear him sometimes feeding her lines, directing the conversation from the other room. My friend Walter, we'd worked together at the utility company for 20 years, noticed the change. Arthur, when's the last time you saw Natalie? 6 weeks ago. She canceled the last 2 visits. Mitchell? Who else? What are you going to do? I'm going to wait. Donna told me I'd know when the moment was right. I trust her. Walter looked at me like I was crazy. But Walter hadn't been married to Donna for 32 years. He didn't understand that when Donna said you'd know, you'd know. Thanksgiving was my moment. I knew it the second Natalie called to confirm that she, Mitchell, and the kids were coming to Birch Hill Drive for dinner. It was the first time in months she'd agreed to visit. Something felt different, charged, like the air before a storm. I prepared the house. I cooked the turkey, Donna's recipe, brined for 24 hours, the way she'd taught me. I set the table with the good china, the set Donna and I had bought on our 10th anniversary. I put flowers on the table because Donna always put flowers on the table. And I prepared something else. I charged my phone. I opened the voice recorder app, and I put the phone in my shirt pocket with the microphone facing up. I didn't know what Mitchell would say. I didn't know if he'd say anything at all. But Donna had told me to be ready, and I was. They arrived at 2 in the afternoon. Natalie looked thin, tired. She hugged me at the door, and I could feel her ribs through her sweater. She'd lost weight. Not healthy weight loss. The kind that comes from stress, from not eating, from a body running on anxiety. Mitchell walked in behind her with the confidence of a man entering a building he already owned. He shook my hand, firm, performative, and said, "Looking good, Arthur. The house looks great." The house. Always the house. Their kids, Emma age 4 and Lucas age 2, ran past me into the living room with the chaotic energy of small children in a new space. I watched them and felt Donna everywhere. she would have been on the floor with them instantly, building towers with blocks, reading stories, being the grandmother she was born to be. Dinner was at 4. The food was good. I'd spent 2 days cooking, following Donna's recipes to the letter. Natalie complimented the turkey. Mitchell ate without comment, checking his phone between bites. After dinner, Natalie took the kids upstairs for a nap, and Mitchell and I were alone in the kitchen. I was washing dishes. Mitchell leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching me. The house was quiet, except for the sound of water and the distant murmur of Natalie reading to Emma upstairs. "Arthur," Mitchell said, "we need to talk." "About what?" "About the future, about this house, about what makes sense going forward." I kept washing dishes. The phone in my pocket was recording. "What about it?" "You're 64 years old. Donna's gone. You're living alone in a 4-bedroom house. The property taxes alone are, what, $6,000 a year? The maintenance, the utilities, the upkeep, it's a lot for one person." "I manage fine."
"Do you?" "Because Natalie says you're struggling. She says the house is falling apart." "Natalie said that?" "She's worried about you. We both are." I turned off the water and dried my hands. I looked at Mitchell directly. "What exactly are you suggesting?" Mitchell pushed off the counter and walked closer. His voice dropped, not to a whisper, but to the register people use when they're saying things they don't want overheard. "I'm suggesting you sell the house. Take the equity, what is it, $480,000, and move into a smaller place, an apartment, a retirement community, something manageable." "And the money from the sale?" "We can manage it for you. Pool it with Natalie's accounts. Create a family fund. It's smarter financially." "You want me to sell my house and give you the money?" "I want what's best for this family." "This is my family, Mitchell. My house. My wife built this home." Mitchell's expression shifted. The smooth charm cracked just slightly, and I saw something underneath. Impatience. Contempt. "Arthur, let me be straight with you. You're a 64-year-old man living alone in a house you can't maintain. You don't have the income to keep this place up. Donna's gone. Your health isn't going to get better. The smart move, the only move, is to sell now while the market's high, and let us help you plan the next chapter." "And if I say no?" Mitchell stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell his cologne, something expensive that Natalie had probably paid for. "If you say no, you're being selfish. You're sitting on nearly $500,000 in equity that could change your daughter's life, your grandchildren's lives. And instead, you're hoarding it because you can't let go of a house that's too big for you. Donna would have wanted Natalie to have it." "Don't tell me what Donna would have wanted." "Someone has to, because you're not thinking clearly. You're a grieving old man making emotional decisions about financial assets, and frankly, Arthur, it's embarrassing." I felt the words land, each one calculated, each one designed to diminish me. Mitchell wasn't finished. He leaned against the counter again, casual now, like he was discussing the weather. "Look, I'm going to be honest with you because nobody else will. You're useless, Arthur. You are a useless old man sitting in a house you don't deserve, holding on to money your daughter needs, and pretending you're still relevant. You're not. Donna carried this family. She earned the money. She kept this place together. You just showed up." He paused, checking the hallway to make sure Natalie was still upstairs. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to sell this house. You're going to give the money to Natalie, which means you're giving it to me, let's be adults about this, and you're going to move somewhere small and quiet where we don't have to keep pretending that Thanksgiving with you is something anyone looks forward to."
He smiled, that perfect, practiced boardroom smile. Unless you'd rather I tell Natalie about the money you've been hiding, the savings accounts, the life insurance payout. I know about all of it, Arthur. I've been doing my homework. My hands were steady. My voice was calm. The phone in my pocket recorded every syllable. Are you finished? I asked. I'm just getting started. But yeah, for now. Think about what I said. You've got until Christmas. Mitchell walked out of the kitchen. I heard him go to the living room, turn on the TV, settle into my couch like he owned it. Because in his mind, he already did. I stood in that kitchen for 5 minutes without moving. My hands gripped the edge of the counter. My heart was pounding. But my mind was clear. Perfectly, absolutely clear. Donna had been right. She'd known. She'd seen this man for what he was years ago, and she'd prepared me for this exact moment. I had the recording. Mitchell's own words captured in digital clarity. Every insult, every demand, every threat. Every admission that he knew about my finances and was planning to take them. But what I didn't know yet, what I wouldn't find out for another week, was that someone else in the house had captured something even worse. The day after Thanksgiving, I called Walter. I told him everything. Every word Mitchell had said, the demands, the insults, the threats. Walter listened in silence, and when I finished, he said 2 words. Play it. I played the recording over the phone. When it ended, Walter was quiet for a long time. Arthur, that's not just an insult. That's extortion. He's threatening to reveal private financial information unless you give him your house. That's a crime. I know. What are you going to do? I'm going to do what Donna told me to do. I'm going to use the proof. I called Thomas Whitfield, the lawyer who'd set up Donna's trust. He listened to the recording, and his response was immediate. Mr. Brennan, this recording is extremely valuable. Mitchell admits to investigating your finances without your consent. He makes explicit demands for your property, and he threatens disclosure of private information as leverage. Combined with the trust documents Donna created and the investigator's report, this gives us a comprehensive case. For what? For whatever you want. Civil action for extortion and financial exploitation, criminal referral for attempted elder abuse, and, if you want, a restraining order keeping Mitchell away from you and your property. What about Natalie? Thomas paused. Natalie is the complicated part. She's Mitchell's wife. Whatever legal action you take against him affects her. You need to be prepared for the possibility that she'll side with him initially. She won't. Not when she sees the evidence. Mr. Brennan, with respect, people in manipulative relationships often defend their abuser. Donna's notes document this pattern clearly. Natalie may need time. He was right, but I had something working in my favor that I didn't fully understand yet. 1 week after Thanksgiving, I received a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. A woman's voice, nervous but determined. Mr. Brennan, my name is Claudia Rhodes. I'm Mitchell's mother. Mitchell's mother? The uncomfortable woman from the wedding. The one who'd barely spoken, who'd looked at her son like she was watching a performance she'd seen too many times. Mrs. Rhodes, why are you calling me? Because I was at your house on Thanksgiving. Mitchell didn't know I was coming. Natalie invited me separately. She wanted the kids to see their grandmother. I arrived late and came in through the back door. Nobody saw me. My pulse quickened. What happened? I was in the hallway, Mr. Brennan, outside the kitchen. I heard everything Mitchell said to you, and I recorded it on my phone. I sat down heavily. You recorded it? I've been recording Mitchell for 2 years. since his second wife called me and told me what he did to her. Since I realized that my son is the kind of man I raised him not to be. The silence stretched between us. Then Claudia said something that shattered me.
Mr. Brennan, I have more than Thanksgiving. I have recordings of Mitchell talking to Natalie. Recordings of him coaching her on what to say to you, how to ask about the house, how to make you feel incompetent. I have recordings of him on the phone with someone, a man, I don't know who, discussing how to get you declared unfit so they can petition for conservatorship. Conservatorship? He's been planning it for months. He has a lawyer. He's been building a case that you're mentally declining. He's been telling Natalie that you're confused, that you forget things, that you might have early-stage dementia. I don't have dementia. I know you don't. But Mitchell doesn't need you to actually have dementia. He just needs enough people to believe you might. I thought about the forged power of attorney attempts, the cognitive assessment appointment, the pattern I'd seen in other stories. Mitchell was running the same playbook. Mr. Rhodes, why are you telling me this? I want to help you stop him, whatever it takes. I'll testify. I'll share my recordings. I'll tell Natalie the truth about his first 2 marriages. I'll do whatever I have to do to make sure my grandchildren don't grow up watching their father destroy their mother the way he destroyed 2 women before her. I hung up the phone and sat in my living room for a long time. Donna's photograph was on the mantel. I stared at it and felt something settle inside me. The certainty that she'd orchestrated this, not Claudia's call specifically, but the conditions that made it possible. Donna had been watching Mitchell for years. She'd hired an investigator. She'd created a trust. She'd written legal pads full of observations. And somehow, through the invisible network of women who recognized danger in other women's lives, the truth had started to surface. Donna had planted seeds, and now they were blooming. I called Thomas Whitfield. I have a second recording, Mitchell's own mother. She has 2 years of evidence. Thomas was silent for a beat. Mr. Brennan, this case just went from strong to devastating. Over the next month, Thomas assembled everything. My Thanksgiving recording, Claudia's recordings spanning 2 years, Donna's 3 legal pads of observations, Gail Whitmore's investigator report on Mitchell's background, 2 previous marriages ending in financial ruin, $200,000 in current debts, a pattern of targeting women with family assets. The trust documents, my bank records, medical records confirming I was in full cognitive and physical health. Thomas also contacted Mitchell's 2 ex-wives. Both agreed to provide statements. Their stories were nearly identical to what was happening to Natalie. The charm offensive, the financial control, the isolation from family, the gradual erosion of independence. Meanwhile, Claudia and I developed an unlikely alliance. We met at a diner halfway between our homes. She was a small woman, quiet, carrying the weight of a son she loved but couldn't defend anymore. I raised him alone, she told me over coffee. His father left when he was 3. I worked 2 jobs. I gave him everything I could. But somewhere along the way, something went wrong. He learned that people were things to be used, and I couldn't undo that. It's not your fault, Claudia. Maybe not entirely. But I watched him do it to 2 women and said nothing. That's on me. This time, I'm speaking up. We talked about Natalie, about how to tell her the truth, about how she'd react. Claudia knew something I didn't. She knew that Natalie was already starting to question Mitchell. Small things, moments of clarity breaking through the fog of manipulation. She called me last week, Claudia said. She asked me about Mitchell's first wife. She said she'd found something on his computer, a divorce decree he'd never mentioned. What did you tell her? I told her to keep looking.
and to call you when she was ready. The call came on a Sunday morning in January, 3 months after Thanksgiving. Natalie's voice was different, shaky, raw, the voice of someone whose world was cracking open. Dad, I need to come home. Come home? Mitchell doesn't know I'm calling. He's at the office. Dad, I found things on his computer. Financial records, emails, things about his past. He's been lying to me about everything. I know, sweetheart. Silence. You know? Your mother knew. She's been trying to tell us both. Come home, Natalie. Bring Emma and Lucas, and bring whatever you found on that computer. Natalie arrived at Birch Hill Drive 2 hours later with the children and a laptop bag full of printed documents. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. The children ran into the house with the same chaotic energy they'd had at Thanksgiving, oblivious to the fact that their mother's world was falling apart.
We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Mitchell had called me useless,
and Natalie showed me what she'd found. 2 divorce decrees from 2 previous marriages Mitchell had never mentioned. Financial records showing $200,000 in hidden debt. Emails to a lawyer discussing strategies for gaining control of the father-in-law's estate. Bank statements showing transfers from their joint account to accounts Natalie didn't know existed. And a document that made my blood run cold. A draft petition for conservatorship listing me as the subject, citing progressive cognitive decline and inability to manage financial affairs. He was going to have you declared incompetent, Natalie whispered. He was going to take everything. I know, I said. Your mother knew too. Then I told her everything. Donna's legal pads, the investigator's report, the trust, the Thanksgiving recording, and Claudia's recordings.
I played the Thanksgiving audio first. Natalie listened to her husband's voice calling her father useless, demanding the house, threatening to expose my finances. Her face went through stages: confusion, recognition, anger, and then something worse: shame. He said those things to you? In our kitchen? While I was upstairs with the kids? He did. And you recorded it? Your mother told me to be ready. She told me I'd know when the moment came. Mom knew? Since when? Since before you got married. She saw it from the first dinner. I showed her the legal pads. 3 yellow pads filled with Donna's careful handwriting. Dates, observations, specific quotes. 3 years of a mother watching her daughter be slowly consumed by a man who saw her as an asset. Natalie read them. She read every page. She read her mother's words documenting the slow, systematic dismantling of her independence, the financial control, the isolation, the comments about her weight, the way Mitchell steered every decision. And with each page, I watched my daughter recognize herself in her mother's observations. She saw everything, Natalie said, tears streaming down her face. Mom saw everything, and I didn't believe her. She tried to tell me, and I told her she was being paranoid. She wasn't paranoid, she was protecting you. And I pushed her away. I told her Mitchell was a good man. I told her she didn't understand. She was dying, and I was defending the man who was destroying me. Natalie, that's not your fault. That's what manipulation does. It makes you defend the person hurting you. Then I played Claudia's recordings, and Natalie heard something she wasn't expecting. Mitchell's own mother, documenting his behavior, capturing his calculated conversations, preserving evidence of his plans. His mother was recording him? For 2 years. She'd seen him do this before, to 2 other women. 2 other... He told me he'd never been married. He lied. About everything. Natalie put her head on the kitchen table and cried. Not quiet tears. The kind of crying that comes from the deepest part of you, where trust lives, where love lives, where the version of yourself that believed in someone gets torn apart. I let her cry. I sat beside her and put my hand on her back and let her break. Because sometimes breaking is the first step toward becoming whole again. When the crying stopped, Natalie lifted her head. Her eyes were red, swollen, but there was something in them I recognized. Donna's steel. That quiet, unbreakable determination that had carried my wife through 26 years of night shifts and a cancer diagnosis, and the careful construction of a legal fortress to protect the people she loved. "What do we do?" Natalie asked. "We let the truth do what it does." Thomas Whitfield filed the civil case the following week. Simultaneously, he referred the criminal evidence to the Cobb County District Attorney. The package was overwhelming. 2 recordings from 2 separate sources, 3 legal pads of documented manipulation, a private investigator's report, 2 ex-wives' testimonies, financial records showing hidden debt and unauthorized transfers, and a draft conservatorship petition that proved Mitchell's intent. Mitchell was served papers on a Thursday morning. He called Natalie immediately, raging. She didn't answer. He called me. I didn't answer. He called his mother. She didn't answer either. For the first time in Mitchell's life, every phone he dialed rang into silence. Mitchell hired a lawyer, an expensive one from Atlanta. His defense strategy was predictable. The recordings were obtained without consent. The ex-wives were bitter. Claudia was an estranged mother with an agenda, and I was a confused old man who'd been manipulated by his dead wife into persecuting an innocent son-in-law. The defense crumbled in court. Georgia is a one-party consent state. Both my recording and Claudia's were entirely legal. The ex-wives' testimonies established a pattern of behavior spanning a decade. Claudia's 2 years of recordings captured Mitchell coaching Natalie, discussing asset seizure strategies, and openly mocking me in conversations he thought were private. And my medical records, cognitive assessments, and financial documentation proved conclusively that I was neither confused nor incompetent. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on charges of attempted financial exploitation of an elder, fraud, and extortion. Mitchell stood motionless as the verdict was read. He didn't look at Natalie. He didn't look at me. He didn't look at his mother, who was sitting in the gallery, crying silently. Sentencing came 6 weeks later. Judge David Okafor addressed Mitchell directly.
"Mr. Rhodes, you targeted a grieving father during the most vulnerable period of his life. You manipulated his daughter, planned to seize his assets, and attempted to have him declared incompetent as a mechanism of theft. You did this while his wife was dying, and you continued after her death, showing a pattern of predatory behavior that spans multiple marriages and multiple victims." Mitchell was sentenced to 5 years in state prison. Full restitution was ordered. A permanent restraining order was issued, and Natalie was granted a divorce on grounds of fraud and abuse. After the sentencing, Natalie and I stood outside the courthouse. It was a cold day. February in Georgia doesn't get truly cold very often, but that day the wind cut through your coat. "Dad, I'm sorry." "Don't." "No, I need to say this. Mom tried to tell me. You tried to tell me. His own mother tried to tell me. And I defended him every time. I chose him over all of you."
You didn't choose him, Natalie. He chose you. He targeted you. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he'd done it before. You're not the first person he fooled.
"But Mom was dying. She was dying, and she spent her last months protecting me from him instead of just being my mother."
That was her being your mother, Natalie. The most complete version of it. She loved you enough to fight for you even when you didn't know you needed fighting for.
Natalie leaned against me, and I held my daughter in the February cold and felt something I hadn't felt since Donna died. Wholeness. Not happiness, that would come later, but the sense that the broken pieces of my family were beginning to find their way back together. Claudia Rhodes and I stayed in contact. We developed an unlikely friendship, the father-in-law and the mother of the man who'd tried to destroy his family. We'd meet for coffee once a month. We didn't talk about Mitchell much. We talked about the grandchildren, about making sure Emma and Lucas had stability, love, normalcy. "They're going to need both of us," Claudia said once. "Separately from Mitchell, different from Mitchell. They need to see what good people look like." "They will," I said. Natalie moved back to Birch Hill Drive. She and the kids took the upstairs bedrooms, and the house that had felt empty since Donna died was suddenly full again. Full of noise, of laughter, of small shoes by the front door, and crayon drawings on the refrigerator, and the kind of beautiful chaos that comes with children living under your roof. Natalie started therapy. She worked through the manipulation, the control, the years of having her reality shaped by a man who saw her as a means to an end. She reconnected with friends Mitchell had pushed away. She went back to work with a focus and determination that reminded me of Donna. One evening, about 4 months after the trial, Natalie found me on the porch in Donna's rocking chair. She sat down beside me. "Dad, I've been reading Mom's legal pads again." "And?" "The first entry is dated October 2020, the month I got married. She started documenting the day I married him." "She saw it from the beginning." "There's an entry from December 2020. It says, 'Mitchell asked about the house again tonight. 3rd time this month.' He frames it as concern for our future, but his eyes go to the walls when he says it. He's not looking at a home. He's appraising a property."
Natalie's voice broke. "She saw everything, and she wrote it down for me. Every observation, every red flag, every moment where she knew something was wrong and couldn't say it because I wouldn't have listened. She did it because she loved you. She did it because she was the smartest person in every room she walked into. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be half the woman she was." I reached over and squeezed Natalie's hand. "You already are." Today it's been 9 months since the trial. The house on Birch Hill Drive is alive again. Donna's hydrangeas are blooming along the front walkway. Emma is in kindergarten. Lucas is in preschool. Natalie is thriving at work. I still make turkey on Thanksgiving. Donna's recipe, brined for 24 hours. And this past Thanksgiving, the table was full. Natalie, the kids, Walter and his wife, Claudia, a few neighbors. The good china, flowers on the table. Everything Donna would have wanted. After dinner, I stood in the kitchen washing dishes, exactly where I'd been standing a year earlier when Mitchell called me useless. I looked around the room, at the life happening in every corner of my house, and I understood something. I wasn't useless. I'd never been useless. I was a man who loved his family, a man whose wife had loved him enough to spend her dying months building a fortress around him, a man whose daughter had found her way back, a man whose grandchildren were growing up in a home built on something real. Mitchell called me useless. Donna proved him wrong. And to you, listening to this story, I want to say something. If someone in your life is making you feel small, calling you useless, worthless, past your prime, please hear me. Their words say everything about them and nothing about you. The people who truly love you will never need to diminish you to feel powerful. They'll build you up. They'll protect you. They'll fight for you, even from beyond a grave. I'm Arthur Brennan. I'm 64 years old. I live in a house on Birch Hill Drive with my daughter and my grandchildren, and the memory of a woman who loved me enough to save me. And I'm not useless. I never was. If this story touched you, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think Donna would say if she could see us now. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe if you want more stories about family, truth, and the kind of love that doesn't end. Before we close, a gentle reminder. This story, like all stories on this channel, contains fictional elements crafted for entertainment and educational purposes. If this type of content isn't for you, that's completely okay. Take care of yourselves. But if you stayed until the end, thank you. Donna would have liked you. She always liked people who paid attention. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go check on the hydrangeas. I promised her I'd keep them beautiful.